Hey parents, just a reminder that Friday, April 3rd, the Wine Kitchen is offering takeout again. Rookie and I have been getting dinner from them every Friday for the past couple of weeks, and it's always been really, really good. And it's been pretty nice to see other parents who are also picking up food. Turns out I miss you guys quite a lot, so hope to see a few of you there again tomorrow. Hey everybody. Bear just got this new book called Pete the Cat, 5-Minute Bedtime Stories. So I thought I would share a couple of stories from this book with you today. So if I turn to the table of contents, we can see that there are a bunch of stories in this book. And the first one I'm going to read is called Pete the Cat and the Cool Caterpillar. It's on page 97, that's 97. So let's find page 97. Let's see. There we go. Pete the Cat and the Cool Caterpillar. We can see right in the corner, 97. All right. Pete is on a bug hunt. He searches his backyard for something cool. Finally, he spots something. There's a caterpillar on the flower pot. Groovy, Pete says. He scoops up the caterpillar and brings it inside to show his parents. You'll need a safe place to keep that little guy, Pete's mom says. She helps him to find a big glass jar. Dad pokes lots of tiny holes in the lid. He'll need air to breathe, Pete's dad explains, and he'll need something to eat. So Pete goes into the yard. He comes back with leaves for the caterpillar to eat and a twig for it to crawl on. He puts them in the jar. Then he carefully puts in the caterpillar. There you go, little guy, Pete says. I hope you like your new home. Pete puts the lid on the jar and brings it to his room. He wants the caterpillar to be the last thing he sees at night and the first thing he sees in the morning. That night, Pete has dinner with his parents. He brushes his teeth and puts on his pajamas. Then he climbs into bed. Good night, Mom, says Pete. Good night, Dad. Good night, Caterpillar. Sleep tight. I'll see you in the morning. But when Pete wakes up in the morning, the caterpillar is not in its jar. Mom! Dad! Pete calls. It's gone! My caterpillar is gone. Pete's parents come to look at the jar. I don't understand, Pete says sadly. The lid is still on. Where could it have gone? Pete's dad looks inside the jar. Then he starts to smile. Your caterpillar isn't gone, Pete, he says. It's just changed. Pete's dad points to a sack hanging from a twig. That's called a pupa, he says. The caterpillar is in there. Pete looks at the jar. Will it stay in there forever, he asks. Pete's mom shakes her head. No, it won't. It's changing into something else. Just give it time. You'll see. What is it going to become? Pete asks. It's a surprise, Pete's mom says. Be patient. It will be worth the wait. That afternoon, Callie comes for a visit. What's in the jar? She asks Pete. It was a caterpillar, Pete says. Mom said it will turn into something else. Eventually. Callie looks at the jar. When do you think it will change? Pete shrugs. Soon, I hope. The next day, Gus comes over. Did it change yet? He asks. Pete shakes his head. Not yet. A few days later, Marty visits. Anything yet? He asks. Pete shakes his head again. Nothing. It just hangs there, not doing anything at all. Pete waits and waits and waits. The caterpillar seems to be taking forever to change. Mom, Pete says, how can you be sure it will do something? It will, said Pete's mom. Just be patient. Dad, Pete says, what if there's something wrong with the caterpillar? What if it can't change? It can, says Pete's dad. It just takes time. You'll see. Pete studies the jar. He hopes his parents are right. Then, suddenly the pupa starts to shake. Mom! Dad! Pete shouts. It's happening! As Pete watches, the pupa cracks and something starts to move around. A head pokes out. Then some legs and 2 colorful wings. The caterpillar has changed into a beautiful butterfly. Pete and his parents bring the jar to the park. It's time to set the butterfly free. Pete opens the jar and the butterfly flutters into the air. It flaps around in a small circle and comes to a rest right on Pete's nose. Pete giggles. That tickles, he says. The butterfly sits there for another moment and then it flaps its wings and flies away. Pete looks up at it. He is sad to see his new friend go. But he is also happy for the butterfly. Goodbye, butterfly, he calls. I'll miss you. The next day, Pete heads back out to the park. He sees all of his friends. Now they are on a bug hunt too. Your caterpillar was so cool. I want to see what I can find, Kelly says. So far, I found this big pile of ants. Look, they're building an anthill. Groovy, Pete says. I found a ladybug, says Gus. Look, it has 9 spots. Nice, Pete says. Hey, Pete, Marty calls. Take a look at this spider. It caught a fly. Neat, says Pete. Want to watch it with me for a while? Marty asks. Pete shakes his head. No thanks, he says. I'm off to find another caterpillar. The end. All right, so we saw Pete the cat's caterpillar turn from a caterpillar into a pupa or a chrysalis and then into a butterfly. So I thought we could watch a real caterpillar turn into a butterfly. So here's the caterpillar, and you can see that it stuck its body to a branch. And that's so its body won't get blown away by wind and it won't fall off the branch. And here, you can see that it's taking away its old skin. It doesn't really need it anymore. And underneath is what's called the pupa. And this is sped up a little bit. But you can see that the old skin is starting to come off. And then underneath is a brand new thing that the caterpillar is going to be inside this pupa for about 2 weeks. And in that 2 weeks, his body or her body is going to change. And when she's ready to emerge, she'll be a butterfly. So here we see a chrysalis again. This is actually a different kind of butterfly than the one that we saw before. You might notice that it's a different color, but it's just what I could find. You can see it's still stuck to the branch. And here the butterfly is starting to emerge. It's starting to come out of the chrysalis. And if those wings look different than what we know of as butterfly wings, it's because they are. They're not quite dry yet. And the butterfly still has to unfold them fully and let them dry out so that they can become nice and stiff so that the butterfly can fly around. And here you can see the wings are slowly starting to unfold, and the butterfly is starting to pump some liquid into the wings to help them unfold a little bit faster, and it's pulling its body right out of the chrysalis. It's very cool. It's not quite ready to fly yet because its wings are still very soft and still a little bit floppy, but here's a butterfly that's all ready to go, and off it goes. So that's how a caterpillar becomes a butterfly. The second story I'm going to read is called Pete the Cat's Groovy Bake Sale. And it's right there at the bottom, and it's on page 177. 177. All right, there it is, right down in the corner, 177. Pete the Cat's Groovy Bake Sale. Pete's school is having a bake sale. Pete is excited. He wants to bring something to sell. Pete thinks about what he likes to eat. He likes cookies. He likes brownies. He likes pie and marshmallow treats and ice cream sundaes. Pete likes all sweets. But which one should he make for the bake sale? Finally, Pete makes a decision. He'll make cookies. Pete gets out the ingredients: eggs, flour, sugar, butter, and of course, chocolate chips. He gets out a big bowl and a mixing spoon. Pete is ready to get to work. He cracks the eggs and drops them into a bowl. He melts the butter and adds that too. He puts in the flour, the sugar, and the chocolate chips, and he mixes it all together. Uh-oh. The cookie dough goes everywhere. Pete made a big mess. But does Pete worry? Not at all. He cleans up the mess and rolls the dough into balls, which he places on a cookie sheet. Pete's mom turns on the oven. When it's warm enough, she helps him put the cookies in. Pete watches through the oven door as the cookies slowly get bigger. A yummy smell starts to drift through the air. Just then, Bob bounces into the house. Pete starts to talk to him and forgets all about his cookies. Suddenly, Pete starts to smell something not so yummy. It's the cookies. Some of them are burning. Pete's mom helps him take the cookies out of the oven. Some of them are okay, but most of them are too burned to eat. But does Pete worry? Not at all. He comes up with another plan for a treat to sell at the bake sale. Pete tries to make ice cream sundaes. He gets out a big glass. He gets out the ice cream and the whipped cream and the chocolate syrup. Pete carefully scoops the ingredients into the glass. But making the perfect creation takes too long. His ice cream sundae turns into ice cream soup. Pete tries to make a pudding pie, but he doesn't have enough crust. He checks a cabinet. He used the last of his flour making the cookies. That means he can't make cake or muffins either. Pete looks around. The kitchen is a big mess, but he still has no treats for the bake sale. What am I going to do now? Pete asks his mom. I promised Callie I'd bring something for the bake sale. You'll find something yummy to make, Pete's mom says. You always find a way. Pete looks at what he has left. He sees some berries, some vanilla pudding, some milk, some whipped cream, and a few pieces of cookie. Pete has an idea. Everything here is yummy, he says. I'll just use a little bit of all of it. If I do that, I'm sure I'll end up with a yummy treat. Pete cleans up the mess he made. He gets rid of all the treats that didn't work. Finally, all he has left are the ingredients for his new treat. He pours the pudding mix and milk into a bowl and stirs. After a few minutes, the pudding starts to take shape. Next, he adds the whipped cream and the strawberries. Finally, Pete puts in the unburned pieces of cake. Pete looks at his creation. It looks yummy to him. Pete goes back to the cabinet and pulls out a muffin tin. He slowly scoops his new creation into the tin, being careful not to make another mess. Pete smiles as he finishes the last scoop. He is proud of himself. He took what he had and made a tray of tasty, groovy berry goodness. Pete opens the refrigerator and puts the tray inside. He'll leave it there overnight to chill. The next day is the bake sale. Before Pete goes to school, his mom helps him scoop the treat into pretty cups. The two load the cups into a tray, and Pete's mom walks him to the bus stop. Good luck at the bake sale, Pete's mom says, kissing him on the head. At school, Pete unloads his treats onto the table at the bake sale. Then he waits for someone to come over. All around him, people are selling cookies and brownies and cupcakes. No one has anything like Pete's treat. Wow, Pete, Callie says, coming over to his table. What's that? Pete hands Callie a cup and a spoon. I call it groovy berry goodness, he says. Callie takes a bite. Pete's treat is delicious. She rushes to tell the other kids all about it. Soon, all of Pete's treats are sold, all but one. Pete keeps the one cup of his groovy berry goodness. When school is over, he brings it home. I saved this for you, he tells his mom. Thanks for all your help, and thanks for being the grooviest mom around. The end. Thanks for reading with me today, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.